Hello everyone, I'm Silent Death and welcome back to my Let's Play Space Engineer series. Starting out in our creative test world today, because there has been a patch, they implemented the rotor wheel combination that I've been talking about the last couple of patches, which adds a few possibly interesting things to do with keyboard driven rotors. I'm not quite sure how well they would work, but it's some possibilities for setting up gears and stuff. Now back to our survival world. In the hidden files, there are batteries, something I am very much looking forward to. Currently their kind of work in progress version is for large blocks, 1 by 1, but for small blocks it's 3 by 3 by 2, I believe, which is large, rather large for a small ship. I'm hoping that they shrink it down so that there's a 1 by 1 by 1 version for small ships. I hope that quite a lot. But that, combined with the fact that connectors can now transfer power, will be very interesting. What else is there? I'm kind of curious to see how batteries are going to work. For instance, do they take power from the reactors, or can you tell them just to take power from the solar panels? Because if they take power from the reactors too, that's not as good. If you're wanting to have something with a reactor backup, but primarily powered by solar panels, you would want the batteries to be charged solely by the solar panels and the reactor only to kick in if there's not enough power from combined solar panels and batteries to do whatever task you're trying to do. That's one reason I would want to have kind of the option to switch it between dragging power from just the solar panels or both the reactor and the solar panels. We'll see how they implement that. I'm guessing it's probably just going to drag power from everything, at least in the first version, as that's kind of how they've been doing things, implementing a more crude version first and then kind of refining it a little bit. They've also added the show HUD thing, or show block on the HUD thing. At first I wasn't quite sure what that would be useful for, but then the game decided to renumber all the rotors that I had in this contraption, and allowing me to show which rotor was which allowed me to sort that out. Another thing they've added is in the option menu you can increase the grinder and welder speed, which I did right away. Now we're running at 5 times grinder and welder speeds. What else did they add? Oh yeah, the hacking is slower, which is still a little bit too fast, I think. But it's at least a step in the right direction, though I think the whole hacking mechanism is a little bit simplistic. Then they've added a whole searchy thing here. You can hide the empty blocks and then finally search this. However, the downside being that now whenever you click on a block, that block is not the first one listed. Hopefully they'll change that back, because that was more convenient. I've been having some trouble working on our chop shop and making the multiple rotor setup. As you can see, these merge blocks are aligned, but they do not want to merge. In fact, they're not even orange or anything. Though I got those two, and these two to merge, I can't seem to get 3 to merge. Not quite sure why, but I'm going to go over how the various ways you can connect those, as other people may be having the same issue. So basically what you need to do is separate out the 2 parts of the rotor. If you mouse over this one holding something, it'll be called the hidden rotor part. And this is the rotor itself. The easiest way to do that in survival mode is to shoot the part you don't want. That's kind of the easiest, no hassle way to do it. However, if you do it that way, you're still going to have to merge this section with itself, which could be a bit of a hassle. That is not how I did it. The other way you can do it is you can go into your config file or your cube blocks file and change the rotor part here to show as its own block. So you can have the hidden rotor part that you can place manually. That is quite convenient for setting up this thing. Though when you're doing that, you need to make sure that this white line matches the 0 degree mark, because it will jump to that point. And even then, there is a little bit of a difficulty when you try to merge this with that. It might have been better to build this with all 5 rotors and then just connect it on using only that. However, I had already built these before I started adding the extra rotors. If I had to do it again, I would just do all 5 rotors at the same time, and that would make things a little bit simpler. And then we can just zoom this right in. We want to get the merge block to go first. So to do that, we're going to have to go in at a little bit of an angle. It's hard to do. Ooh. And it broke one of our landing gear. But everything needs to be connected properly. Have to fix that landing gear later. And the dents. Now, all 5 rotors are set up, and I can just put some scaffolding there. Get rid of these. So much faster. And it's done. I also add another side to this so that it's balanced and doesn't wobble so much. At least that's what I have been doing. And that all the way down like you see over there. It's not all the way connected because this merge block is still in the way, and I'm not ready to get rid of it. Today, what we're going to focus on is this chop shop. We're going to focus on the end parts of these pistons, the parts that are going to collide with the ship and push it towards the center. We need to create something that won't mush the ship, mush the weaker ships, but will still be powerful enough to move the larger ships. So the first step for that is going to be, well, to convert these back to a ship and to extend them all so that we can build them while they're extended so that we don't make any mistakes. Obviously, we want to have something that each of them can extend to their full magnitude without colliding with the other pads. Grabbers, I guess we could call them. Or shovers, maybe? But let me finish fixing this one, and we'll come back and talk about what we're going to build on that. Alright, the pistons are extended. So as I was saying earlier, we're going to need to build kind of pads on the end of these that will push the ship, but will not interfere with the pads on the other ones. One way we could do that is have the ones on opposing sides be really large pads, but the ones perpendicular be small pads so that they fit in between the large pads at their maximum extension. So we would have large pads like here, and then the side pads would come from here to here, but these would go out a long ways, like way out to there. That is one option, and that is not the option I'm thinking of going with. I'm looking for something that's kind of interwoven, in that we have this will come out a little ways, then there'll be a gap, and it'll come out a little ways more. And the side ones will be kind of the opposite. So they'll come kind of through this gap. And that way we can have things that should be able to grab all the types of ships and push them in without having to worry about, you know, the pads. I'm going to call them grabbers, or the shovers, or the grabbers, or whatever you want to call them. We'll call them the shovers because the grabbers are going to be something else. The shovers are going, we don't have to worry about them interfering with each other. Though, given the size of the landing gear, which is what we're going to put on the end of these, we're going to need to have the gaps 3 wide and have the landing gear in the middle. And how wide we're going to want this? This inner box is the theoretical size of our largest ship, but we really don't need it that big. Maybe about halfway the size of the theoretical box should be enough. It's the longer side that's going to be more important, but they should still be somewhat rectangular. So we'll have it half the width and half that way too. And we'll make sure that the tips of these are 5 blocks, or there's a 5-block gap between the tips of these, which means it looks like it's going to be 1 shorter than it is now, but that's not a big deal. Let me place some blocks and do some welding, and I'll be right back. We are back with these being finished. I may extend them out a little bit longer. I'm not quite sure if that's going to be necessary or not. We'll have to try it with multiple ships to see how that works. As for the shovers themselves, we need to figure out exactly how much torque we're going to need to make sure that we've built shovers and not the largest can crusher ever. So I've got a private cell here, and we're going to try to push this in, assuming I still have a control panel somewhere. Should be over here. There it is. Eventually we'll have to set up a control room at some point. Okay, so we're going to grab all of our things and put them in one group, which we'll call the shovers. We'll make sure but they all have the same speed. Guess 0.8 is good. Right now they're at max torque, so we'll have to slowly decrease that. It's going to take a little while for this to push out. We can't go very fast because it will basically destroy the piston with that much torque. And the fact that I'm using light armor blocks here, I thought about changing that out to heavy armor blocks, but I'm just not sure how well that would work. I don't want the extra weight. Let's go ahead and drop the torque down to, oh, say 20-ish. And a little bit of a cut here while I wait on this to shove. Oh, first we better turn off the inertial dampeners. That would probably be a good idea. Oops. Eventually I'll get the right button. Okay. There we go. Wasn't the inertial dampeners, but it'll do. Didn't I turn that off? Oh right, it has the solar panels still to give it power. Okay, I guess I have to turn them off definitely. Come on, let me through. I hate those stupid doors. There we go. Okay. Are you even moving? Don't appear to be. Did they all not get adjusted? Shovers. Okay, they should all be moving positively. Okay, they are. It's just the first little bit is a little bit slow, I think. Or a lot slow. Definitely moving. I guess Mike could speed it up a little bit and see how that works. Try to figure out how fast we can actually go. Barely seems to be moving. In fact, it may have stopped moving due to the lack of torque. Let's see. The yellow one's 37. It's definitely moving because it was at 32. Alright, we'll go a little bit faster then. Let's check over here. These kind of seem to have stopped too. Let's make sure they're moving again. They're definitely moving, it's just taking a very long time. Okay, I will just be back in a little bit then. Alright, I've boosted the speed a little bit and the torque. We're about to find out if this is going to work. I'm not using the auto lock feature because I do want it to be able to move in between things. Okay, it's first little bit of getting pushed. It's not proving very difficult. Over here. Torque is at 1.5 meganewton meters, and we're at about 1 RPM. Since the actual torque is a function of the velocity as well. Need to figure out if we're going to squish this though. So far our arms seem to be working, or our shovers seem to be working like I want them. So far. Doesn't really even seem to be resisting all that much. But it's about to. Okay, now it's in trouble. Should straighten up a little bit, which is what I would like to happen, but it's a little bit too short for it to get perfectly straight. Are we there yet? Almost. You don't have where to go that way. And now it should be pushing on it. It's hard to tell at this direction. Don't have the right angle. Not really pushing that way. No dents that I can see yet. And I think we might be fully extended. Nope, not quite. But they seem to have stopped. So that actually worked perfectly. With no crushing or anything. Excellent. For next episode, or the next part of this, not necessarily next episode, we will want to build something. After we got this centered, we're going to want to feed this into some grinders. So that'll be the next step. Both setting up the grinders and setting up something to feed it into the grinders. But that's going to be it for this episode. I'll try to get this uploaded today, which is Wednesday, before the patch, and then maybe next episode we'll take the Blackwing for a spin. I would like to do that. We do need some more test subjects. But like if you like, subscribe if you're not, leave a comment if you have anything to say. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time!